Jim Cameron was number, no, I already got Jim Cameron. We got a couple more. I'll find them, don't worry.
Okay.
All right, guys, sorry about that. I'm still trying to sort out my, the mess with my car. So I just have to call the people up in Eloy to see if they're towing it down tonight or tomorrow morning. Or if I wait till after the meeting, everybody will have gone home. So I apologize. Okay, so let me get my act together here a little bit and just write down who's on the meeting, and then we will promptly get started. Some of you may have heard Dennis and I bantering right at the beginning before I just cut off to make the phone call, and it's about 114 degrees. It's 114 degrees in Tucson. It's probably slightly less here because we're just a little bit higher. So, but it's either way, it's plenty hot. The good news is that I have air conditioning. The bad news is it wasn't working until about an hour ago when the air conditioning man came out. So,
Rick, how's the Jag?
It is working now, and we're down to a mere 83 inside the house. But Peter, you're used to 83 inside the house, aren't you?
Well, yeah, it never gets much higher than 89 or 88 at my house. And it doesn't get that warm inside. We get trade winds blowing.
Okay.
So it rarely gets above 90.
We've got some desert winds going here, but I don't know what. Hopefully, I'm almost sorted out with my desk where I want it, and I can get off the dining room table. And then the next time, I'll give you a quick guided tour of where I'm living now. I'm just writing names down.
Somebody's got a radio or TV going on in the background.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
You guys hear it though, right?
Yeah, we can hear it. We'll figure them out.
On your recorder.
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay.
Okay, so here's who I know is on the call, and then whoever is not can shout out and tell me, and we'll fill your names in on the sheet that the panel that we all have if you're on the computer. So I know we've got Bill Franklin, Dennis Correa, Eric Bookbinder, Jake Hannum, Jim Cameron, Jim Harrington, Len Sierra, Paul Frieda, Peter Kafka, anybody else?
Sylvester Mann.
Sylvester Mann, okay. Sylvester, I've got you. And there's one other person. Do you want to tell us who you are, or you just like to listen? Okay. All right. So, we've got an old crew. We don't have anybody new. So I'm just writing in Sylvester's name. Okay. Let me run down the list and see who would like to talk tonight. Bill Franklin, anything you'd like to talk about?
Oh, no, not specifically. I'll just listen in.
Okay. Dennis, how about you?
Nothing new, Rick.
Okay. Eric, anything to talk to us about to bring us up to date?
Yeah, I'll talk.
Okay. Jake, you want to tell us if your air conditioning is working yet?
No, I'm sitting here in the dark with a candle.
Okay.
I'm on the cell phone. I don't know how good my connection is. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yes.
Okay. I don't really have anything new, Rick.
Well, we hope your power comes back on pretty soon, Jake.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
Jim Cameron, you want to give us an update on how you're doing with your eyes and everything else?
Yeah, and I got one other question about some way to deal with a doctor I'm having a problem with.
Okay. Jim Harrington, anything for you tonight? Jim Harrington? Okay.
Sorry, Rick. I was muted. No, I'm fine tonight, Rick. I'll just listen.
Okay. Len, you want to talk a little bit about that impact study and what it said when it came out, since you're one of the participants?
Well, okay, to be honest with you, I only read the abstract.
That's okay.
So I don't have much to say about it, but
You could summarize it for the guys. I mean, you know a little bit about the trial, so
yeah.
I'm not coming to you first, so you can do a little bit. You're good at doing homework whilst you're on the call. I know. I know.
Yes.
Paul Frieda, how about you? Paul?
Yeah, I got a question about the ketogenic diet.
Peter, how about yourself? Anything for you?
Yes, I'd like to just do a plug for the low and intermediate calls and how what's moving in them and how important they are for some guys.
Okay, no problem. Maybe you can tell us what's going on with Mike Tamales as well, since he's not on the call. Gary, anything for you tonight?
No, I'd really like to just listen.
That's you. Be our guest. And pipe up if you've got something you want to bring to our attention or you to contribute, feel free. Sylvester, anything for you?
No, not this evening, thanks.
Okay. Have I missed anybody? Okay. So, Eric, let's kick off with you, and we'll go down the list.
Okay, well, I went to San Francisco today to see Dr. Agarwal. I stopped taking the experimental drug a month ago in preparation to getting palliative radiation. So I had 5 sessions of radiation. It's only 5, but I'm still wiped out, taking 3-hour naps. So I talked to Dr. Agarwal today, and he wants me to try Zytiga, abiraterone. He had said before that he wanted me to go to Xofigo.
Right.
He said either one would be okay. He suggested that I have it done in Berkeley because it's more convenient, and it's the same difference. It's just the same drug either way.
Right.
So I left a message for my doctor in Berkeley. Haven't heard back from her yet, but I was at the Mount Zion today seeing Dr. Agarwal, and when I got there, my blood pressure was 87/61. So they wanted to hydrate me, put me in a hospital bed, gave me a liter, and after that, my blood pressure was 67/41.
Oh no!
So then they gave me another liter and gave me some food and drink, and then my blood pressure was 101/30. 67, and so then I went home. But I was really dragging. I've really been exhausted, out of breath just constantly. I had family over here for Father's Day, and I couldn't do anything. I just sat in a chair and let everybody else do everything. Some of it, obviously, from the radiation. So I'm trying to work through that, keep myself at least doing what I can. And I don't know yet which way it's going to go. He also offered to put me on a trial. I don't know which way I should go, whether I should go. He was recommending the abiraterone because of the trial drug I was on resensitizes the cells.
Oh, right.
So he thought that doing abiraterone next would be a good, check, at least to see, do it for a few months and see what it does. My PSA went up to the highest ever. It's almost 16. So.
So can you do the Abbey at the same time as the Zofigo? Is he happy for you to do that?
Yes, he said that was an option also.
Well, that's interesting that the GS 5829 resensitizes the receptors. I didn't realize that. I'm not really sure how that drug works.
I don't think they are either.
You make me feel better. And then, of course, if you went back onto the abiraterone, then you'd be on prednisone full time. Do you do okay on prednisone? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it.
So is your thinking that that's sort of what you're going to do?
Yeah.
The site.
The abiraterone.
You'll start the Abbey, and you'll do Zofigo at the same time.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have to, be sure that Dr. Dolezal's on board with that.
Well, of course.
Although in general, if I ask for something, she gives it to me.
And there's no reason why she shouldn't be talking to Agarwal, right?
Oh, yeah. He sent her a message.
Right. And what was their take on this blood pressure issue? Anything? I mean, did they?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
No.
Well, I'm just sorry that you just felt so wiped out. How were you? I haven't really had a chance to ask you. How were you on your trip to Hawaii? Did you feel good? Did you have energy?
I was okay. I had to have help pushing the wheelchair.
Oh, right. Okay. Well.
Yeah, I went with my sister and brother-in-law, and
right.
He's a big guy, real muscular guy, and he was a lot of help with the wheelchair.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I had to have help pushing a wheelchair too. I took out one of my oldest buddies who's been in a wheelchair since the early 80s. And I didn't have the strength to. We went out for a drink one afternoon and at a pub in the pub garden, and I just didn't have the strength to push the wheelchair onto the paving. So you're not on your own. So and I think Mike's probably about roughly around the same weight as Gail. So you're not on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Let me open it up. Anybody would like to talk? Anybody like to talk to Eric about these options? Any questions, thoughts, ideas?
Eric, do you still have pain?
Paul, you start. Go ahead.
Yeah, Eric, do you still have pain?
Yes. Yeah, I'm taking a lot of Norco and Oxy.
So is it concluded that the radiation was a failure?
No, it's too early.
Oh, okay.
They they usually want to wait, at least 2 weeks when it's after the radiation to see. And I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm in less pain than I was at the maximum. So in general, it's trending down, so it should be okay.
And what medication are you taking for the pain?
Norco, which is, now my mind just went blank. A 10 milligram, one of the opiates, and 325 of acetaminophen. It's like Vicodin. It's definitely it's like a new version of Vicodin.
Oh, isn't Norco oxycodone?
No, it's the other one.
Oxycontin.
Oh, shit, what is it? I have to look it up. Hold on a sec.
Where's Dr. Steve when we need him?
Yeah.
It's Rick. It's Vicodin. Basically, it's Vicodin. It's acetaminophen and hydrocodone.
Hydrocodone, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just another name for Vicodin, another trade name.
Okay. Thanks, Len. I didn't ask you the most important question. What did they feed you? Was it any good?
I'm sorry?
I said I didn't ask you the most important question. What did they feed you?
Oh, what did they?
Was it any good?
Yeah, they gave me 2 Cliff Bars.
Oh, 2 Cliff Bars.
That's good stuff.
Oh, and a cup of miso soup.
You must be on the economy plan with UCSF, Eric.
Yeah.
This is Peter. I suspect UCSF bills Medicare plenty for those Cliff Bars too.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, Eric, I'm sorry to hear you're going through this challenge. I guess the question I had is, if you're going to start Xofigo, besides the low blood pressure, how's your other blood work? Is it in decent order, or is it compromised?
No, I had a bunch of odds and ends that were either a bit high or a bit low. Red blood cell count's a little low. My magnesium and my potassium are too high. What else? What's the one you always ask about, Rick, when we talk about PSA? The other one, the alkaline phosphatase.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's high. So, I mean, nothing's way out of range. Just a little bit this way and a little bit that way. But
platelets are okay. Platelets good.
Platelets are okay. Yeah.
If your alkaline phosphatase is not too far out of line, that's a pretty good sign. I mean, it means that the cancer is not spreading that quickly. If that starts to rocket, it's an indication that it's really playing up in the bones.
Right. Well, that was Dr. Agarwal said that one of the reasons that argues against Xofigo is that it's not as widespread METs as one would normally start Xofigo for.
Okay. Well, I would say that the plan's right there. Go for it. The only concern, I mean, this is just a concern I have for you, is that, with this blood pressure issue, just be careful with your driving. It's a concern to me. American Cancer Society has provides volunteer drivers at no cost. If you have the patience to deal with them. But
so far, I haven't had any problem driving.
Right.
The only problem I had is I got up in the middle of the night and went to the bathroom to get a glass of water, and on the way back to the bed, I kind of very momentarily lost consciousness and dropped the glass.
Ooh.
So that's the only worrying thing I've done. That.
Do you think that was another incidence of having very low blood pressure?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Steve just came on. Hey, Dr. Steve. Eric was at UCSF today, and whilst he was there, his blood pressure dropped to 67/41. So, so they gave him a couple of Cliff Bars and a bowl of miso soup and sent him home.
Well, 2 liters of hydration as well.
Oh, and 2 liters of hydration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would just say that, you know, that you have a good plan. I'm sure that your I always forget her name, but your Sutter doc in
Dolazol.
spell it for me.
Dolazol, spelled pretty much how it sounds. Dolezal.
C-A-L, Dolazol. Okay. Well, I guess that Dolazol, you know, I'm sure she'll go along with the program. And when do you think you'll be able to get onto the Zytiga?
Well, I want to do it immediately. So, you know, if I don't hear from her by tomorrow morning, I'm just going to show up down there.
Okay. Let me know. I can help you with the Zytiga.
Okay.
Okay.
And what do you mean? You mean obtaining it, or how do you mean?
If you can't get it quickly enough, just let me know.
Oh, okay.
Eric, this is Bill Burhans. I've been dealing with low blood pressure issues for the last several weeks, and I just came in on the call, so someone may have already pointed this out, but I was trying to stay well hydrated by drinking water, and my doctors pointed out to me that it would be better to drink something with electrolytes in it, like Gatorade.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's another way that you might help to keep your blood pressure up.
Yeah, my main drink is I drink orange juice, half diluted.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, Gatorade would be ideal because it's stuff full of electrolytes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of sodium. I mean, Gatorade is basically sodium, potassium, and water, and some glucose. You know, I don't know. I think getting dehydrated, even water, is better than nothing. I mean, if you're dehydrated, you're just not drinking enough fluids. This hot weather we've been having lately certainly contributes to that.
Yeah. Well, also another symptom that I have is even when I'm not hot, I'm sweating.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's from.
Well,
Eric, this is Jake. You say you're also high in potassium?
Yeah, my potassium is high. Yes.
So Gatorade may not be a good call for that either. It's got potassium in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's pretty unusual. I mean, it's called hyperkalemia, where your potassium is too high. If your kidneys are functioning normally, it's pretty hard to get it too high. Was your sodium okay? You're not low sodium?
Sodium's fine. No.
Yeah. I'd be more worried about the sodium getting hyponatremic, which is where your sodium's low, which can cause all kinds of problems. Usually potassium, if anything, is too low, not too high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On the other hand, my cardiologist did tell me that he says, I don't get to say this to many people, but you can go home and use all the salt you want.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, that was basically my suggestion too.
okay, and you know, if you want any other ideas on the best thing to drink, drop a note to Greta McCare. She'll get back to you.
Who's that?
Greta McCare.
Okay.
She's the registered dietitian at the Cancer Center at UCSF.
Oh, okay.
You know, I would offer to give you her email, but I still haven't unpacked the box that has all my drugs in, and Hold on a minute. I'll get it for you, and I'll put it in the chat window whilst we're talking. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I need to move along, or we need to move along, I
Yeah,
should
let's go
say. And I just want to check in. Welcome to Dr. Steve and to Professor Bill. It's always great to have both of you on the call, especially at the same time. Who else has joined us? Is there anyone else that's joined us? Maybe I should go down the list and you can tell me if I haven't called your name. Bill Franklin, Dennis Correa, Eric Bookbinder, Jake Hannum, Jim Cameron, Jim Harrington, Len Sierra, Paul Frieda, Peter Kafka, Spokane Gary, Sylvester Mann, Steve, Dr. Steve, and Professor Bill. Anybody else?
Ron Silverio.
Oh, Ron! Welcome. How are you?
I've had better days, but still above the ground.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, that's
I've
good.
heard from you for ages, although, you know, I hear from Susan on the Caregivers call. Speaking of which, plug for the Caregivers call. It's tomorrow at, I can't even remember what time. This is the third. It's tomorrow at 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So just let your caregivers, let your partners know they're welcome to join us on that call if they would like to. I've got to post it as well. I haven't posted it on the forums. I've got to do that. And anyone else? Okay. So, Steve, did you need any time, or do you want to fill us in on your background? Well, I'm just planning at this point.
No, I mean, I really nothing. I'm going to wait till next week to do some bloods. I just got back from Hawaii. I was there for a week, and this lesion on my nose.
Yes.
Yeah, close. Moray eel bit me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Scuba diving and a moray eel bit me on the nose.
Wow.
Don't tell me you didn't see it coming.
No, actually, I ran into a screen door while I was there, so that's what it was. Anyway, it's getting better.
Gee.
I've been telling people it was a moray eel bite, though they seem to bite.
I got to say, I like the first story better.
I was drinking a cup of coffee, and the screen door was closed, and I went wham right into it with my nose. I think it was bleeding like a son of a bitch.
Okay.
Better a moray than an electric eel.
What was that?
That would hurt more. I was better a moray than an electric eel.
Oh.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true.
Professor Bill, I'll put you in for a quick update so you can tell I know what's going on, but you tell the guys how you're managing with the pain pump.
Okay, I did on Tuesday. Do you want me to do it again?
Oh, that's right. You did on Tuesday. Absolutely, you did.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
and I did. I had,
so do you have anything else you'd like to talk about tonight?
no, I had a routine bone scan, sodium fluoride F18 bone scan on Thursday, but I haven't learned the results yet.
Okay.
So next week.
Okay. So, and Ron Silverio, I'm putting you in to give us an update. We'll raise you up the list as well. But let's come to Jim Cameron next, and then maybe we'll talk to you, Ron.
Okay.
Tell us what's up with you.
Rick?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I talked to, at the Oxygen Hyperbaric Center, I talked to them the end of last week. Of course, they avoided talking to me, and I told them I wanted all the papers that I've ever signed there.
Right.
And it'll take a couple days, and they called me and said they had them. I went and picked them up, and of course, when I got them home, they weren't all there. Well, make a long story short, this morning I ended up talking to the director there, and obviously they're hedging. They said, well, I can't give you answers. I got to talk to somebody else. So obviously they're talking to a lawyer or somebody. I haven't done anything else. I'm at Johns Hopkins right now.
Oh, okay.
And I have an appointment with the Wilner Eye Center for an all-day appointment Wednesday.
Okay.
See Dr. Arnott, and then I'll know how much damage is done, what I'm going to do.
Okay. Well, you know, I guess that we established a week or so ago when we last spoke, that 2 weeks back, that there's no question that the cataracts are a definite comorbidity from the hyperbaric treatment.
Yeah, their response to that was, I mean, on the first call, and I was talking to the technician. They said they've been doing this for, I don't know, 11 or 12 years, and they've done over 500 patients and never had one problem. And I could tell when I brought up the cataracts, they didn't have a clue about the cataracts.
Really?
And when I brought up about the macro degeneration in the one eye where I have the cancer,
yeah.
And all of a sudden they said, "Oh, we got to go."
So in other words,
and that was the end.
They knew.
That was the end. That was more or less the end of that call. They said they have to refer it to other people.
So in other words, they knew that you had the macular degeneration, and they're saying they weren't aware that cataracts were an issue, and yet we know.
Right. They didn't know cataracts were an issue, and they said they've never had anybody with eye problems in 11 years there, which, you know.
I mean,
so I'm waiting. Like I say, I have an appointment Wednesday with the eye surgeon at Johns Hopkins,
right.
And she I know she'll work with me, and whatever I got to get done, and then we'll decide what we're going to do with them down in Florida.
Right. I mean, we sent you 2 articles, didn't we?
Yeah, I got some more articles too. Yeah, I have about 10 articles.
Okay.
And I dug up some articles where they thought at one time they could cure macro degeneration of the eye with the hyperbaric chambers, but it didn't work.
Right.
I forget what country that came from, but there was a couple articles on that.
Right. I can't recall the articles offhand, but I think that what we sent you were pretty legitimate articles from good institutions about the correlation between hyperbaric treatment and cataracts.
I probably have 6 or 7 write-ups on studies on cataracts. Okay, that's well documented from what I can see.
Okay. It's just hard to believe that a center like that isn't even aware that it's a side effect. I mean, I think there was somebody on our call who even mentioned it to you and said, was it you, Len? I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah, it was me.
It was, yeah.
Well, it was documented in some literature.
Yeah. Are you aware of that, Steve? That that hyperbaric treatment can result in cataracts?
You know, way back in the annals of my brain somewhere, I think it is. I've heard of that. You know, just one quick word. I mean, if you got cataracts, I don't know if you have macular degeneration and that's associated, or you have cataracts. Cataracts are relatively easy to fix. The reason the doctors clammed up, and when you said, "Gee, aren't you aware?" or something, is doctors tend to react to things like that, concerned about lawsuit. I think the best approach is to say, you know, if it is a side effect, you know, having a cataract surgery, 15-minute surgery, you know, in and out, you know, one morning, I'm happy to have that done. I wouldn't get to an adversarial position with them because, you know, even if it is a side effect, it probably said something like that in the informed consent. If you read the informed consent very carefully, I'm sure their lawyers covered it, even if it's, you know, 0.01%. So, I mean,
no, I didn't get adversarial with them at all.
Yeah. But doctors climbing up and say we weren't aware of it and walking out of the room suggests to me that they're a little concerned about lawsuits. And I'd make it very clear that you just want to get it fixed. You don't want to sue them.
Yeah, but
what I'm concerned about, I realize my right eye, which is my normal eye, getting that cataract fixed will not be a problem. The left eye, where I had the cancer surgery last year, John Hopkins told me over the phone that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
And like I say, I'm going to see her on Wednesday.
And the other thing,
Because I don't have much better than my vision's only about 50% in that eye as it is.
yeah, the other thing, Steve, is that I doubt that that Jim's ever going to see those doctors again. I mean, they're not his regular doctors. They're not.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have a relationship with those doctors. They were just somebody. There was just a facility he went to for the hyperbaric treatment. That was it.
Yeah.
The doctors in the Hyperbaric Center are the doctors from the emergency room in the local hospital, Venice local hospital, which is not a really good hospital. They each do, there's 10 of them, they each do a half a day a week. They come either in the morning or afternoon, one day a week each. So you never see the same doctor all the time, depending on when your appointment is. These people are just rotating, they rotate through on a weekly basis.
All right. Anything else, Jim? You said you had something?
Yeah, I do. I do. I run into another problem. I remember I told you I had back surgery 7-8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had the back surgery, and I had it done by supposedly the best neurosurgeon in the area down there, recommended by every doctor I talked to. And the pain went away in my legs, but the pain is worse in my back than it was before the surgery. I saw the surgeon Thursday, and he said he can't understand why it's still there. And we agreed that I should get an MRI, which I did. I got last Friday. I told him I was going up to Johns Hopkins, and after that I was going to proceed to go up to New Jersey for a couple of weeks because we have a couple of graduations going on. And I said, if I get you the films, can I call you? He said, no problem. Well, I got the films to him on Friday afternoon. The disc I have myself, I have it in my bag. I called his staff, will not put me through to the doctor. She said the doctor does not take calls from patients. So I got this MRI done Friday afternoon on my back, and I got a lot of pain. And the doctor won't talk to me. Has anybody got any suggestions how I get through the barrier there? I'm out of town. If I wasn't out of town, I'd march right into the office.
Well, I mean,
but I'm up in Baltimore.
The first thing I would say is that if you did it on Friday, today's Monday, so you've got to give him a little bit of time to just.
Rick, I hand delivered the films to him Friday. After they were taken, I waited for them. They gave them to me, and I brought them over to his office manager. I had them over there Friday afternoon before close of business.
Well, I don't know. I'll defer to a couple of others, but I think the first thing I would do is just document it, send him an email to the effect that you hand delivered them over. And you're waiting to hear from him. I mean, I definitely would send him an email and document it. But anybody else want to suggest anything?
Well, any doctor that says I don't talk to patients over the phone, I would drive in the opposite direction real fast, frankly.
I after this. It's his office manager saying this. And like I said, I chose him to do the back surgery because I must have talked to 6 or 7 doctors in Venice, and they all told me he's the guy to see. And I must know 7 or 8 guys to play golf with me have had back surgery there. Everybody else has had a success. I have not.
Well, I mean, what happened with Steve Kerr, of the Warriors. I mean, back surgery is tricky, and it can sometimes go south on you. So. But I mean, not being able to get a hold of your doctor, that seems pretty bad.
I understood. I understood going into the back surgery that
back surgery can be a tricky item. I knew that going in. And I know that I've had rheumatoid arthritis for 45 years to add to the complications. But, you know, when my wife and I left his office on Thursday, we thought we had an agreement with him that I would get him the films, and then I would just call him from when I'm up in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins. So happens he was educated at Johns Hopkins.
I'm sure that you told the office manager that you're up in Baltimore now, and he told you to call. You did, right?
Oh yeah. And she said, well, we have a policy here that he has a policy that he does not talk to patients on the telephone, only in person. And I told him we had an agreement on Thursday because I was going up for cancer treatment in Johns Hopkins. And she said, she said, I'll see what I can do, but I can't promise you. I probably won't call you.
Well, you know, the background on that is, you know, telephone calls and emails, because of this antiquated system that doctors bill through. It's called E&M coding, evaluation and management coding. You can't bill for so-called virtual visits, telephone visits, and you know, video visits and emails and so on. So that's the reason that doctors in a fee-for-service setting are reluctant to do that. But I mean, given that he did surgery on you, you know, you're having complications, I think he should talk to you.
I think so too, because he billed Medicare plenty for the surgery.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to try again tomorrow. Like I say, I got the disc in there. If I could get somebody to read it for me and tell me what the thing of it is. But who would I get to read it when I'm out of town? Because I'm going from Baltimore up to New Jersey for a couple of weeks.
That's a good question. Well, I mean, you know, you need some sort of neurosurgeon, I assume, or a neurologist to take a look at it, or possibly an orthopedic doctor. What would you say, Steve?
Or radiologist. I don't think anyone's going to want to touch it, frankly, because
that's what I was afraid of.
Surgery, nobody's going to touch that. It's like a hot potato, you know. So I think you need to get hold of the doctor that did the surgery and see what he thinks. And again, don't get into an adversarial thing. You want to just say, you know, I'm having complications. What should I do? You know, the fact that you're out of town and he won't call you is, to me, it's like crazy. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's that, you know, especially since when my wife and I were in the office on Thursday, we left there and thought we had a plan with him. You know, that I was going to go get the MRI and I could call him when I'm up at Johns Hopkins. Yeah, I'm going to be here most of the week.
Well, maybe without, I mean, not to cast blame, but maybe he's not being communicated by his office staff. Maybe they're just following his routine policy that I don't call patients, have them make an appointment, which some doctors certainly do. And if that's the case, they need to communicate that you're out of town and you need to talk to him. I mean, and as far as Rick saying, just email him, I doubt he'll answer an email or even has email available that's secure. I mean, you're not going to send it via Gmail or something, right? He has to have it secure. So.
Yeah, but the reason that I would like him to email is because at least it documents what's going on. I think it's always to document what's going on.
Well, that's assuming the email becomes part of his medical record, and if you just send him an email unsecured on a server on Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook or something like that, is, I don't know how well it documents it more than just writing things down, basically, and documenting on paper or on a Word document what you've been trying to do. You know,
and who knows if he pulls his own email? He's got a big office staff there. He's got a big operation.
You know,
he may have one of his clerks or assistants pull his email even.
Oh yeah, more than likely he does.
Oh, well, I'll just call his office manager again and try and smooth her a little more again and tell her how much pain I'm in and that I need an answer.
I would just say, just keep reminding her that this was this was the arrangement that you had with him.
Yeah, I drilled that home to her today because she kept saying, well, we have policy. And I said, well, you know, this is a little different situation. I'm up here for cancer treatment. I'd love to be in Venice, but I'm up here in...
Yeah, they have a policy, but the doctor told you that this is what he was going to do. So the doctor already told you he's going to make a variance in the policy. He told you. You're not asking them to do something the doctor didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rick, you're talking like a logical person. You know, it sounds like you got Nurse Cratchit on the line there, and, you know, it's hard to get through sometimes. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and she's like the Iron Gate there. You know, she's the Iron...
Yeah, you bet.
Right.
She's,
all right, guys,
job.
let's move along here. I'm not sure we're going to get much more out of this, but Jim, keep us posted here, and more important, please let us know what the eye doctor says and whether the eyes are treatable. You know, certainly the cataract is optimistic, and the other one, you know, what can be done for that one too.
Now, hopefully by Thursday afternoon we'll have some plan in place for my eyes.
Okay. How good is the vision in the the one that does not have macular degeneration right now?
I cannot read the newspaper without a magnifying glass, or I can't use the computer.
Okay. Well, listen, if nothing else, you and Pam have a good visit up in Jersey and enjoy the graduations, and keep us posted, and we'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Thanks for your help.
Ron Silvario, are you still with us? I saw you dropped off.
Yes. No, I'm still here.
Good. Okay. Well, because we haven't heard from you for so long, and because I know from Susan you've been having a pretty rough time, it would be good to just bring the guys up to date, or the people on the call up to date a little bit, and tell us how you're doing right now. And you know, we love to hear from you and Susan.
Okay. Let me bring you back to like June, my 4th Zofiga treatment. The individual giving me the radium-223 says to me, "How you feeling?" I says, "Wow, I feel great. I don't have any pain." 2 weeks later, I can't even, I mean, it's like misery. And they did an MRI, they did, and during this whole thing, my left leg decided to swell up. So that's happening. I got a pain way down low, right where my buttocks meets my legs. And it's in the right leg and the left leg. The pain is. And so I had the MRI, and they found on L4 there was a cancer was growing and impinging on some nerves. So dealing with the leg swelling up, taking drugs to knock the pain down, they put me on the an external beam type radiation. We're going to have 10 treatments to try and do something about that, the cancer impinging on the nerves, which would hopefully alleviate the pain. But they kept me well drugged up, I guess. I don't like the feeling, but hey, and I still have pain. That's the bad part too.
So you had how many Zofigos have you completed now?
Okay, I've completed 5 now, and I should have been having the 6th this week or last week, and we put it off, and it was all right with them. I'm going to go in Monday and do the Zofiga.
Okay.
The last one.
And this this L4, the development in L4, Eric, which of your lumbar, which of your vertebrae were involved?
Well, There's something in L4, but they're not sure. They don't think it's cancer. There's a stenosis, but primarily T1, 2, 3, and 5, and now C7.
Oh, that's right, C7. So Ron, I mean, Eric also has just been doing some radiation. He just completed some radiation for his back.
Okay. Yep.
And
I mean, I'm not looking for any magic bullet. I'm sure it's going to take some time, and I'm sure it's different with each individual and all that other stuff. But they were sort of thinking that almost the oncologist who said to me, why don't you go check out the radiation oncologist? She was under the idea that it would happen pretty quickly, alleviate the pain. And it was just kind of interesting, the whole experience.
Yeah,
And
I had the same thing. I had the same thing. This is Eric on my. This is the third one I've had. First, I did the T1, 2, 3, and then when it spread to T5, they did T5, and now C7. They did 10 on the first 2 sessions, and they did 5 this last one. And,
yeah, that's right.
And it did alleviate the pain. It was, I was in major pain before I had it, and then until this most recent time, I went, almost several years without any pain from it. So it does. When it works very well.
Great. That's what I'm looking for. And how long did it take it to work for you after your treatments?
A couple weeks.
Oh. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it was within 2 weeks after the last treatment.
Mm-hmm. Now I get the problem with the swelling in my legs. And when it really gets bad, I essentially only have one leg. I mean, the other one I can't bend. That's how much it's swelling, and it's really uncomfortable.
Sounds more like congestive heart failure, but have they looked into that?
No.
No, that would be both legs if you're talking about congestive failure. I had, about a year ago, I had a similar thing where I started to get some GI bowel symptoms, and they did an MRI, and I had 3 things going on. One is 3 discs that I've had for years and years and years after running some marathons, I assumed is what it was, with nerve impingement from the disc, severe spinal stenosis in L4, L5, and then what they felt was a lesion, a cancer lesion in L5S1 that was impinging on what's called the cauda equina, which is the nerve roots that come out of the spine at the very end of the spine. It was like cauda equina means horse's tail. And typically you can get motor or nerve or sensory symptoms, you get weakness, but typically not swelling like that. Anyway, I did have it radiated, and I don't know, it gradually sort of got better. I'm not sure. I think some of my nerve symptoms were really more related to the other diseases I have in my spine, which I've had forever. But I think the sensation of numbness that I've had since then has not gotten better. And my radiation oncologist said, when I said, well, if this is going to work, how long is it going to take to work? He said, well, it could take a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, or never. I mean, that's his exact words. So that means.
And what was it you were doing for the swelling?
Right now I'm seeing this vein doctor.
Hold on, Steve. What is it you were doing for the swelling that could take so much?
I'm sorry, Rick. I can't hear you. What's that?
You said that what was it they recommended you do for that pain that could take such a long time to correct itself?
Well, it wasn't really pain. My problem was more numbness that I was experiencing, primarily my right leg and perianal, and I was having bowel problems where I couldn't hold stool if it was too loose. So it wasn't pain per se, but I had back pain for 20-something years on. So I know I have. There's typically 2 diseases that can cause back pain: spinal stenosis and what's called a slip disc, or spondylolisthesis. And interestingly, if you take 60-year-old men and you do an MRI of their lumbar sacral spine, over half of them will show slip discs and lumbar stenosis or spinal stenosis, and this is in the absence of any symptoms whatsoever. So you don't want to overread these things, just because you have pain. In other words, doesn't mean it's being caused by something you see on an imaging study.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, they went after this lesion, which they felt was impinging on the nerve roots. And I don't know, it remains to be seen whether or not that's true. Or, I don't know. I've had an MRI subsequently. It's gone, so.
What do they do to it, Steve? When you say
Just external beam radiation. I had 5 external beam radiation.
That's right. I remember now. Yeah, I remember when they.
It was about a year ago, last July, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron.
And yes.
What's your PSA doing?
It's around 49. That's what it is. So it's steadily been going up. And then it went up to a maximum of 61 and then came back down to 49. Mm-hmm. So it's 10-point drop. Nobody knows what it, they sort of, it went down. Mm-hmm.
So, and you do have a palliative care doc now, from what I recall.
Correct. And I got to get up to see him too. But the pain that I've been experiencing and the swelling in the leg is limiting my mobility. So, I've sort of like put off things. And now that I'm doing the radiation, I want to do that consistently. It's in the middle of the day. It's like at 1:20. And most of my other treatments are further up north. So.
Well, I do think it would be worth your while to pay a visit to the palliative care doc certainly about the swelling and see what ideas they might have.
Well, he did put me on naproxen. Oh boy, there was a gang of them. Let's see, gabapentin,
right,
and naproxen for the swelling, and then my medical oncologist put me on prednisone,
mm-hmm.
and I'm on 5 milligram oxycodone as needed.
Did the prednisone do anything for you or not?
I don't notice. Well, I swell up a wee bit, when I was doing it, when I was taking the abiraterone. I noticed my face was real puffy. But it has no adverse effects that I know of, and I don't notice any other effect, any positive effect either.
Okay, well, let me again throw it out. Any specific questions you want to ask any of the guys, or thoughts, or?
No, not as far as the prednisone. I mean, that's all right with that. I mean, I'm just going through the process, and it sounds like things have to take their time, to get them in, all the ducks in line, I guess you want to say.
You sound good. I will say that. Your voice sounds strong, and you sound good. But I do know you've been having a real rough time, because Susan's let us know that.
Yeah.
Anybody want to talk to Ron directly? All right, Ron. Well, look,
all right.
Don't be a stranger, man.
Okay. I shall attend.
No pressure, but we have good ideas here, and there may be things.
Oh yeah.
You guys have been through it. You're not blasting a new trail, fortunately.
Really, I know it.
We may have some ideas, but definitely get your ass over to see the palliative care doc and go through all the symptoms with him, because it's we spent a lot of time trying to convince you to get one. Now you have one on board, and that's what they're there for. When do you next go up to Johns Hopkins to see Antanarakis?
That would be, when do we have? No, they haven't made the appointment yet. It's usually every 3 months. Yeah, we're waiting to hear back.
So
from
Ron,
yes.
The only other comment I have is I might hold off on that last Xofigo dose until this thing is doing a little better. I mean, there's no urgency of taking the 6th Xofigo. I think you said you're going to do it later this month.
Yes.
I would probably hold off on that just in case the Xofigo is causing some of the nerve symptoms, as getting some swelling from it or something in the nerve compression. So I personally would just hold off on that just so you don't add another variable into this whole confusing picture.
Yeah. Correct. It is a very confusing picture, yeah. And I think sometimes people start doing things for the sense of, hey, it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone's got their own shtick, so your nuclear medicine doc is anxious to just get it done because it's the last dose, but there's nothing that says you have to have it every 4 weeks. I mean, I did 3 doses, and I may do the other 3 doses at some point or not. I don't know, but there's nothing that is written in stone that you have to have.
Yep.
Well, the only thing I would say, and that was Steve's choice, but we have had other doctors say that they don't think that it works, and there's a variance in opinion, but they think you have to do all 5 or 6 at the same time. But there again, Steve could be right, and you can hold them in abeyance. We really don't know. The problem is the trial was based on either 5 or 6 sessions. I can't remember which. 6, I think.
Yeah, I think it was 5 was the minimum, and 6 is, just like a little insurance policy.
Right. But it may be that Steve's way works better. The trouble is they haven't tried it yet. They haven't looked at it.
Correct.
Yet. So,
correct. So I'll see if I can get an appointment made up with the palliative care guy and see what's happening. And I do have I have a follow-up with they did an ultrasound of all the legs. Right. They didn't find, originally they were worried about blockages, and I didn't have any of those, so they said I have leaky veins.
Yeah, well, a simple thing like varicose veins, simple leg swelling, as long as you don't have a deep venous thrombosis, which is what the ultrasound rules out. But varicose veins, and excessive salt in your diet and so on, prolonged standing and so on, can all contribute to it. So, I don't know. I think that swelling in one single leg is probably not something related to cancer or the treatment, I would have to think.
They're not connecting the two, the pain and the swelling. They don't seem to connect those things. They're treating them as if they're 2 different things, which I don't know. I guess they could be.
Did you get to see your boys yesterday, Ron?
Say again?
Did you get to see your boys yesterday?
One was. The other one was having his own Father's Day regalia down the road.
Okay.
So I talked to him on the telephone.
Okay. And Susan, we got a meeting tomorrow at 5 o'clock. 8 o'clock your time.
Okay, I'll tell her.
Okay.
Oh, yep. I'll go to mute and I'll listen.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, I hope you get this resolved.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's speak to Paul Frieda. Paul, go ahead.
Okay. I want to confirm this ketogenic diet seems to me that it just shouldn't apply to us because of the high animal fat content and the cholesterol. Am I correct about that? Does everybody know what a ketogenic diet is?
Yeah, I think
it's sort of an extreme Atkins diet, very low carbs.
I want to say that we spent a bunch of time talking about this a few months ago. I can't remember who brought it up. It might have been you, Paul, or it might have we talked about this with you on the call before?
Not me. No.
Somebody. I think it was Frank Kelly that brought it up.
It was Frank Kelly. Thank you.
And somebody did some research on it. I don't know if it was Steve or Bill. Someone did some research and followed up on it the following week.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, well, it's sort of an extreme version of the Atkins diet where you're trying to get your body to start burning fat rather than sugar.
That's right.
And one argument is that it starves the cancer. But on the other hand, if you're getting a lot of animal fat, you're going to get cholesterol and you're going to end up feeding the cancer. So, because it's my understanding the body can convert, or either the cancer or your body can convert the cholesterol to a testosterone type of molecule. So, but I was just wondering if it was, universally known, and I just didn't know it, that you just, we with advanced prostate cancer just should stay away from a ketogenic diet, or
Okay,
it sounds
so-
like nobody
Okay,
here knows.
So,
Well, to me, it seems similar to taking metformin. What you're doing if you're non-diabetic and you take metformin, say 500 twice a day, is you're creating a ketosis. In other words, you're burning fat with that, preferentially. So, and then as far as the cholesterol goes, I mean, many of us take, Crestor or statin of some kind specifically because, Snuffy Myers and company seem to think that that is a good state in terms of keeping your cholesterol down in prostate cancer. So it seems like the ketogenic diet is similar to taking metformin in that sense.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
okay. So hold on a second.
This is
Hold on one second.
Bill Burhans.
Bill, just hold on a sec. Just hold on a second.
Okay.
We did do because I'm looking at my notes. We did do a bunch of work on it. It was around December, early December, and Bill sent us a very good review. I'm going to let him talk about it momentarily, but I will forward you what Bill said. It was as a result of Frank, Kelly, or Lisa finding this diet and him trying to determine whether it was good or bad. I would definitely suggest you go back on YouTube and see this. Look at the look at some of the calls around the end of November, beginning of December, and I would have noted in there if we were talking about the ketones, and then you can listen. I'm going to send you what Bill sent to us right now, and Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Unfortunately, I can't remember what I said, except that we did talk about it, and I was skeptical at first, but then I looked into it a little bit further and decided that it actually probably wasn't a bad idea, and that in the same way that metformin is probably not a bad idea. But I'm going to have to go back and listen to what I said back then too, to remind myself of what I learned from the research that I did.
So let me read quickly what you wrote to me and Steve and Len. You said,
Sure.
After exploring the primary literature for a while yesterday, I have a much better understanding of ketone supplementation as a therapeutic approach. It's very clear there is some validity to this approach. The underlying mechanism is related to selected starvation of tumor cells, which cannot use ketones as a source of energy. This is somewhat related to Volta Longo's studies. The major difference is that Volta's studies are focused on sensitizing tumor cells to cytotoxic chemotherapies and not on the selective killing of tumor cells by ketones in the absence of cytotoxic drugs. When we discussed Volta's studies in an earlier phone call, I indicated I was waiting to see clinical data that addressed the results of his preclinical studies. The results of what I think is probably the first clinical study were published earlier this year and support the preclinical studies that suggesting fasting could sensitize patients to chemotherapeutic drugs. I've attached a PDF describing this clinical trial as well as a PDF relative to the ketone story. Note that Volta and I disagree on the underlying mechanism of the fasting effects, which are described in an earlier publication that resulted from our collaboration. However, this disagreement does not alter the validity of the take-home message of his current studies, which is that short-term fasting can improve the efficacy of cytotoxic chemotherapy treatment without deleterious side effects. Both sets of findings should be very interesting to the patients and caregivers participating in these calls. I think it would be a good idea to bring this topic up again in the future. And then you volunteer to summarize them in 10 to 15 minutes if the time might be available, but we're not going to ask you to do that now, Professor Bill.
You're going to ask me to do that now?
We're not going to ask you to do that right now.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So I think that some of this came up around the fact that, should you do a starvation diet around your chemotherapy? But then there was also this whole issue about the ketogenic diet. And I've already forwarded this to you, Paul, so you can look a bit more. I think that there was, let's see. And then Steve commented on starvation in pregnancy with a rise in ketones. And Len talked about another, he talked about something in the New York Times. No, with checkpoint inhibitors. No, that wasn't strictly related to that. So I think that's probably what we were talking. That was probably some of the stuff, and I could go back and look more. But to answer your question, is it good or is it bad? I don't have an answer, but as the guys have said, the concept of a ketone-based diet may have some validity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm remembering more of what we talked about as you're speaking, Rick, and that I came to that conclusion pretty strongly that it would be a good idea to, to pursue that kind of a diet. We first began to talk about it in the context of improving the efficacy of chemotherapy, and there's absolutely no. So that's something that I've actually worked on, and there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it would this type of a diet would help in that situation. But I read quite a bit of literature back then and became completely convinced that it would be as a general diet, it would be a good idea too.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, there's also another idea that a low-caloric diet is a good way of fighting cancer too.
Right. It's really the same idea. It's in the end, it's lowering glucose levels. That's important. Blood glucose levels.
Okay. So the cancer not only feeds on the testosterone, but it also feeds on glucose.
Well, all cells.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, all cells
Cancer cells have a predilection for glucose. They consume it much more avidly than normal cells.
I mean, all cells do, Bill. I mean, all cells do. It's just that they're more rapidly growing cells, and that's maybe why they're more, susceptible to hypoglycemia. But I don't think.
Well,
I guess
no,
personally, I wouldn't want a starvation diet. I don't know if that's a good idea.
No, it's not. It's more than just the fact that they are rapidly dividing. I mean, they switch into a different type of metabolism that depends more on glucose. And yes, you would not want to launch yourself into a starvation diet. But there are supplements that you can take, and this was something that was looked at in one of the studies that I examined back then that duplicate the effects of a starvation diet without actually starving yourself. And so that was the general idea. I think that would be a good approach. To just simply, extreme low-calorie diet would not be a good idea because, well, for a lot of reasons, but but that's not what I'm talking about.
The only thing I want to just come back to, because Paul started at the beginning by saying that these are similar diets to the Atkins diet, which is heavy in protein and low in carbs, et cetera, et cetera. It is tricky because we know that animal proteins are not conducive to men with prostate cancer. In some way, shape, or form, the cancer kind of likes, as it likes glucose, it also seems to respond well to animal proteins. But there are certain proteins that are okay. Oily fishes, for example, are good. Of course, there are a lot of plant-based proteins that are available. So eggs are not so good.
Why?
Why? Because we know that all dairy products have been shown to have a deleterious effect on prostate cancer.
How do you know that, Rick?
There's been research, a lot of research.
But are you sure this is?
Well,
you're talking about eggs?
Take a look at the UCSF prostate cancer and nutrition book, which again I don't understand. There's a bunch of studies. Now, what we do know is that they actually studied skim milk versus whole milk, and they found that skim milk was actually worse than the whole milk because it was more intense in the protein. But these are studies that have been done. These
right.
Now,
this is
debate the study.
I know, Rick, but when you say these are studies, I mean, you can study anything, but how do you control for skim milk or whole milk? Is it, are you talking about in vitro, or what are you talking about here?
All I can say is if it's good enough for UCSF to put it in their nutrition pamphlet, to me, it holds weight because they're pretty careful what they put out there. So, the nutrition pamphlet, which I have referred to you guys many times, and by the way, I think in July, hold your questions because you can ask them to Greta McCare directly. But, dairy is bad. We know dairy is bad.
But that's, I think dairy you're referring to milk and milk products. And I don't think they're referring to eggs.
They are.
And the protein.
They are.
I'm sorry?
They are referring to eggs, yes.
Okay, all right. This is not an area that I'm an expert in.
Particularly, if I remember Greta correctly, particularly the egg yolk.
That's right.
You could probably get away with the egg whites, but you want to watch out for the egg yolk.
Well, for a long time, it was thought that, eggs were bad because of cholesterol, and that turned out to be incorrect. So I wonder if that's the basis for that. But in any case, this is not something that I'm an expert in. So
no, nor am I. But I do think that eggs. It's not the cholesterol; it's the processing of eggs that is the problem. And I have chickens. I have 4 hens that lay eggs, and I eat them. And I'd love to see a study designed around somebody eating eggs with prostate cancer. And I'm not sure how they design any kind of a study that makes any sense. So when you say, Rick, that it's in the pamphlet, that sounds like it's in the Bible or something. I mean, yeah, but who wrote the Bible?
Well, there is. I'm going to put it right now in the window, and you guys
put the Torah up there. Don't put the Bible up.
You guys can take a look. That first one that I just put in is the pamphlet, and the second one that I'm just about to put in right now is another an additional publication with just the references. There are about 350 references. So if you want to go through, I can't pull my copy because it's still packed away, but if you want to go through and look at the discussion on dairy, because there's a long discussion on dairy, and you read the references, and then you can come back to us next week and tell us why it's a bunch of crap. I'm happy to listen to that, but I'm not happy to listen to the fact that it isn't a good, you know, the document is in question.
Well, there's a directory error on that link, so maybe you could send it out later. You're getting a directory error. It's not working, the link itself.
Link worked for me.
Really? I'm getting a 404 error on it. Does it start with urology/UCSF? Is that what it's?
Yes.
Yeah, urology.ucsf.edu.
Yeah,
I'm getting an error.
It ends with prostatecancer.pdf.
Yeah, it just came up for me too, Steve, so.
I'm not getting it up.
So, Rick, I had to call in tonight.
Yeah.
Because my computer was on the fritz. If you get the time,
I got it.
at some point in the next couple of days, could you email me the URL?
I'll send you
or
both.
the PDF.
I got it. It's working now.
I'll send you both PDFs right after the meeting. Let me just put the other one in for those of you who are online. The references. Hold on a second. Because the naysayers are going to read all the references so they can tell us why the study is no good.
Well, I don't know about naysayers and study is no good. It's I'm just saying it would be hard as a scientist who's done a fair amount of research. It would be hard to design a study that makes any sense, saying that don't eat egg yolks versus eat egg yolks, and to see the impact on in vivo prostate cancer. I just don't know how it even begin to start a study like that.
Well, I don't either, but you'll read it and you'll see what they did.
All right.
You know, I can't tell you either, and it's a long time since I've looked at this stuff because this pamphlet was updated, but originally I looked at it when I was diagnosed, and Peter and myself and many others have seen Greta, and we've been to her presentations. This was actually originally written by Natalie Ledesma, who was Greta's predecessor. But I think you'll find that most dietitians in cancer centers who consult with prostate cancer patients will tell you to avoid dairy, avoid animal proteins. Now, in addition, and I know that there's a lot of controversy, if you want to, you can take a look at the China study, those of you who are interested in it. There is a whole chapter in the China study on prostate cancer. That's also got a lot of references in there. So there's plenty of, this is a good discussion. We haven't talked about diet in a long time, and it's always good when we have some debate and some controversy on here. Let's see, this in the references there are, how many are there? 375 papers that are quoted. It's a pretty thorough study. It's a pretty thorough pamphlet, I would say. And there is one, by the way, if any of you know anybody, they have a similar document for breast cancer, which I've also sent out to people.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to reading these and
I promise
giving you my 2 cents next week.
I'm putting Bill nutrition references. I've written it down. You'll get it right after the meeting, Bill.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So anything else before we leave diet from anybody?
Yeah, I don't think you see too many clinical trials on foods because there's no money in it.
You got that right.
Yeah, you know, you say that, but at the same time, there's a lot of research on nutrition. just as there's a lot of research on exercise now, and there wasn't. On exercise, there was nothing 10 years ago. There was nothing. 2 papers. Now, there's every month, there's more and more papers. At the time, there was a fair amount on nutrition, and more you see studies on supplements, on foods. So on the one hand, logically, you're right, but there's a lot of work that's done on nutrition and on specific foods. So I don't know, Dennis. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think that some of the research is done on contents of the food, like the proteins or the enzymes or the biological content of the food and how those particular compounds impact cancer. And so those are people that are, pure scientists, and we deduce from that certain foods are good or bad or indifferent.
Rick?
Yeah, these are good points, Rick. I mean, I'm
Go ahead,
basically,
Peter.
I'm not a nutritionist, but these are questions that my research in my lab addresses. We look at the effects of high glucose on the biology of yeast cells.
Right.
And it, it models the effects of hyperglycemia in humans. Hyperglycemia is a clear risk factor for cancer. The frequency with which diabetics, or at least type 1 diabetics, but I think both type 1 and type 2 probably get cancer, is higher than patients who are not diabetics. And so, based on what I know from, the work that we do and, the relevant literature, even in the absence of controlled studies or, clinical studies, clinical trials, I know enough, for example, to know that I need to avoid glucose in my diet as much as possible. So you can make statements about what's good and what's bad as far as nutrition is concerned, aside from running clinical trials to address some of these questions.
Well, I mean, I'll just give you one quick example, and I haven't looked at the dairy part in this study, but there are 4 or 5 studies cited from the National Cancer Institute and something published in the British Journal of Cancer as to why certain cruciferous vegetables are beneficial. I mean, there's one study here, for example, I don't know what it says, but it's referenced in the book. Food, Nutrients, and Prostate Cancer, a case-controlled study in Uruguay that was published in the British Journal of Cancer. So, that it is possible to do studies. I mean, you may question the methodology, but when people say to me, diet studies, and it's all a bunch of malarkey because you can't do good studies, I don't think that's the case anymore. June Chan at UCSF, who is she's a PhD, she's a full professor. She was at Harvard before she came to San Francisco. Has made her living and her reputation on doing studies of this nature over a long period of time. So, I know traditionally it's been difficult. I mean, there's another study I see, a prospective study of fruit and vegetable intake and risk of prostate cancer, Journal of the National Cancer Institute. I mean, I don't know what they say, but what I'm saying is that this UCSF nutrition pamphlet is well researched, and the recommendations that are in there are not just some flake saying, you know, we don't think you should eat meat. No, you may disagree, but you're going to have to read the studies and tell me why you disagree.
Rick?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll read the papers and we can discuss this again next week.
Okay, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that at the PCRI conference every year, Dr. Moyed, Mark Moyed, I mean, he's done a lot of work in this area, both diet and supplements, and he spends a lot of time dispelling myths. And he's got several books written, and they're well documented and well cited. He doesn't do anything unless there are specific studies indicating that something is useful or not useful. And his information can be found on the PCRI website or at the conference. He spends a lot of time on this because it comes up year after year after year as more new people are diagnosed with prostate cancer or fighting it in some way or another. And he doesn't back down from it. And there's always new information coming out about what might be good and what might not be good because more studies are proven.
So let me just summarize from page 12 of the actual pamphlet, and you'll have to go back and find the studies. But they put in a box, and it says fat, bottom line. 1, less fat is better. 2, limit animal fat. 3, avoid hydrogenated fats. 4, extra virgin olive oil, canola oil, macadamia nut oil, avocado oil, or almond oil is preferred for salads and cookings. 5, increase omega-3 fatty acids. So all of those recommendations are supported by papers. And I guess when I say, you know, avoid animal fats, which includes eggs, that, you know, that they saturated fatty acids, sources of saturated fatty acids include meats, poultry, whole milk dairy products, butter, cheese, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but again, well, you know, I don't want to hammer this home. I just, if people want to disavow it, I'm open to listening. But let's just look at the studies first. And these two pamphlets that I've put up there, and if anybody who's on the call other than Bill wants these references to these two pamphlets, I think they are on. I think I've already put them on as resources. I may not have done because I'm sort of haven't gotten to that. But send me an email. I'll send them to you in a heartbeat. Okay, Len.
Yes, sir.
You want to talk a little bit about this study that I highlighted in the letter about the importance of being sequenced, something that, you know, Bill commented on, you commented on. And I should just say that this was a Memorial Sloan Kettering study that came out this week, and that that Len was amongst the population of 451 men that was tested.
Yes, that's right. Of course, you know, it's all anonymized. So if you read the paper, you would see my name. But the bottom line is that they did both somatic mutation analysis, and which is to say tumor mutation analysis, and germline or inherited mutation analysis. But the mutation analysis was on, the inherited analysis or germline was on fewer patients. All patients had to give consent in either case. And the bottom line was that 27% of, well, I should define the study population first. These were all guys who had, they call it loco-regional disease to non-metastatic CRPC to metastatic CRPC. So basically we're talking about prostate cancer that had spread beyond the prostate in every case, sometimes just to the lymph nodes, sometimes to the bone, and in some cases to soft tissues, primarily liver and lung. And so in all of these cases, they discovered that about 27% of the patients had either a germline or somatic alteration in DNA damage repair genes, which, as we know from Bill Burns, these mutations can often respond very well to PARP inhibitors such as olaparib. And I think there was a new one recently approved, although I can't recall the name of that one. And so basically, you know, there really wasn't a lot of, there was a lot of technical discussion of the types of mutations that they see more often in metastatic disease versus non-metastatic. So they wanted to determine what are the drivers for progression of prostate cancer by doing these gene analyses. The biggest factor that they noticed in patients who were local regional versus patients who were metastatic was that there was amplification of the androgen receptor gene. So not really such a big surprise. The more androgen receptor you have, the more the easier time the prostate cancer cell will have of getting fueled in a low testosterone environment. There were a few other, that was, I would say it's probably the major finding. I'm trying to look through some notes here.
You know,
other genes like TP53, RB1, P10, ATM, they saw more frequently in metastatic CRPC versus non-metastatic. So these are, you know, this just suggests that if they're analyzing your genome and they see these genes, if there are agents available to target those genes, they should utilize them earlier in the disease process.
so, I mean, I think, yeah, I think that's the bottom line, that what came out of this is whether you get tested for an inherent, inherited gene defects, or whether you get tested for somatic gene defects, that there is a benefit, there is significant benefit to a good portion of men to get gene sequenced, which is what we've been saying for a long time on this forum, on this in this virtual support group. We've been pushing men for, as you well know, those of you who attend regularly, to get sequenced. And even if it's only a quarter of you that get sequenced that benefit, that's still a significant number. And I think those of us who strongly support sequencing were very happy to see the study, because it just reiterates what we've been saying. Bill, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I don't have much more to add other than to emphasize what you just said, Rick. I think it really drives home the point that anyone with high risk for advanced prostate cancer should have should undergo genetic testing, because it's likely to provide information that can be used in their treatment by identifying genes that you know can be targeted with specific drugs. So, and that's independent. I think the other main point made by this study was that that's independent of a family history. So even if you don't have a family history of prostate cancer or other types of cancer, if you have advanced cancer, you should be tested.
Okay. By the way, I have posted a couple of references for those of you still online. I just posted a couple of choice links that I found. I don't know, again, the quality of these studies, but just some links that I pulled out of the study and some of the nutrition stuff. What time is it? 6:47. Pretty good. I think we've been around everybody. Anybody who wanted to speak who has not had a chance to speak?
I have this is Bill. I have a question.
Yeah.
There may not be an answer to it. So I have been followed, progression of my case has been followed with sodium fluoride PET CT scans, bone scans.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a constant battle to get my oncologist to sign off on the use of this technology rather than the conventional technetium 99 technology. I want them to use the PET CT technology because it's 5 times more sensitive. And they don't want to use it because it's 5 times more sensitive. And their argument is that it makes it very difficult to distinguish between true metastatic lesions and signals that come from arthritic disease, for example. And my rebuttal to that, and so far I've won in every case. Now, in fact, they don't. I think the argument has ended because I now have a long history of these scans, and so it's important to, as I have subsequent scans, it's important to compare them to this past history. So I don't think I'll be going back to technetium 99. But my rebuttal to their argument has been that if you have a really good radiologist reading the scans, then that lessens the problem of not being able to distinguish between real metastatic lesions and arthritic signals. So I'm just curious, if anyone or any of you also being scanned with this technology? And if you are you running into the same sort of barriers with your oncologist or objections from your oncologist?
Bill, this is Jake. I have a comment. When I found out in 2012 that I had metastatic prostate cancer, it was from a PET CT scan. A bone scan showed nothing. An MRI showed nothing. It is the PET that showed that I had metastatic cancer. You know, because I had initial treatment and my PSA kept going up, and I finally went to an oncologist, and that's the test that she sent me to take. It's anecdotal, but that's for what it's worth. That's exactly what put me where I'm at now.
Okay, I'm happy to, not happy to hear that, but I am in the sense that it supports my point of view about the efficacy of this approach. What institution are you being treated at?
I'm being treated just by a local oncologist, and she sent me to a radiology, lab in Maryland, and I think it was sodium F18. I'm pretty sure, because I know at the time Blue Cross, my insurance company, wasn't going to pay for it, and in fact they didn't pay for it. So it finally got written off. But it's the test that showed that I was metastatic.
Yeah, that's basically my story too. It was first detected, metastatic lesions were first detected with a PET CT scan, not with a technetium 99. I've only had one technetium 99 scan, and that was right after I was first diagnosed.
Right, me
And I
too.
don't think
I've
they
only
did
had
it-
one. I've only had one bone scan too.
Right.
It
Oh, no,
seems
I've had many bone, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Steve.
so Bill, it seems like, it's clearly a better scan. It's more sensitive. I guess, getting into sort of standard of care and who's going to pay for it and who can interpret it. In other words, if you don't have anybody in your organization who can interpret it because you don't do them, then it's a work test, and your comment that, well, you've had a number of them and now you can compare them, I think that's critical, because if something was there 2 years ago and it's still there and hadn't changed, that's a good thing, right?
Right, exactly, right. Yeah, that is, the question of who's going to pay for it is also very important. And, we were able to convince my insurance company to pay for it. But I understand that isn't always going to be the case, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to get them to pay for, this much more expensive technology than for a Technician 99 scan.
There's going to be a study done that shows that it's so far superior in picking up micrometastases, that it's considered standard of care, and every insurance company at that point is going to have to pay for it. But that's just not the case today. And technician bone scan is such a crude. I mean, it's like it's such a crude test. I basically have not done one since my very first one because I keep saying to my oncologist, "What's the point?" I mean, show that's going to be helpful here.
Yeah. Okay. Has
Bill?
anyone else had this?
Yeah, Bill, this is Peter. My experience with this was when I was first diagnosed, I did the standard bone scan, CT scan at home, which came up negative. But when I met with my oncologist, he wanted me to do a PET scan just to confirm that there really was no metastatic spread right from the get-go. And my insurance, at that time I was not on Medicare. It was several months away, and my insurance would not pay for it. So I had to pay $1,500 out of my own pocket, but I did it. And it came back confirming negative. At that point, I had no metastatic disease beyond my prostate bed. So I think it's useful, and I was willing to pay out of pocket. And my oncologist felt that strongly that he wanted that information.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hey, Bill and guys, I'm kind of shocked that we're even talking about the sodium fluoride F18 scan as the state of the art, because now that's being left behind by the C11 choline scans and the Axumin scans. And the Axumin scan, PET scan, which I think is flucyclovine or something like this, is becoming more and more available, at least at the, I know I've been to Sloan Kettering and I've been to Mount Sinai in Manhattan, and they both make that available.
Well,
and it's far more sensitive than the F18.
Yeah,
the C11, I think the C11 choline, the choline scan, my understanding was, at least maybe the last time I, was looking into the aware of what's going on in this area, was only available at a couple of places, one the Mayo Clinic and one maybe at Sloan Kettering, but it wasn't widely available. Is that not the case, or?
No, I think that is still the case for the choline scan, but not so much for the Axumin scan, because the radioactive isotope is far more stable than the choline. So they're able to license more institutions to use it.
I may be confused, because when I had my PET scan, it was 5 years ago, June of 2012, and I had to drink like 2 gallons or 2 quarts of some disgusting glucose kind of stuff first. Is that the one that we're talking about?
No, it's not. It's related to it. They're both positron emission tomography scans. meaning the signal that's detected by the gamma camera is positrons. But the basis for it is very different. The label in the case of the scan that you had is a labeled glucose molecule.
Okay.
Well,
even that one identified the Mets in my case. I know it's low tech, but even that one identified the Mets. So it's the best one that I've ever found.
Yeah, it's good for. It's typically used, I think, and you can tell me whether or not I'm wrong about this, for detecting, all kinds of Mets. Especially visceral Mets or Mets in soft tissue. And it's based on the predilection of tumor cells for glucose. So they take up much larger amounts of glucose, and if you have a label attached to it, then that shows up, the tumors show up as a spot. But it's not typically used for bone scans because, that is not part of the biology of prostate cancer cells and of their effect on bone metabolism, which is the basis for the bone scans.
Well, that's where my Mets are, is in my bones, in my spine, my sacrum, my ilium, my hip. That's what the PET scan is, the one that identified all those Mets.
Really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
There was the technician that performed the scan that I had last Thursday told me that there's yet another technology coming down the pipe. So the choline scans, and I haven't heard of the other one that you talked about, Len.
Yeah.
But he said there's a new scan coming down the pipe that's based on gallium, which will detect. It detects prostate-specific antigens on metastatic lesions, no matter where they are. And he said that it will be the.
What is the radionuclide? Did you say gallium, or what, Bill? What was the radionuclide?
It's gallium, and it's available right now at UCSF, and it's PSMA sensitive.
Right.
So they're also using lutetium for that as well, but they're also using lutetium for palliative care in different doses. So they've got lutetium trials for scanning, and they've got lutetium trials, I know they've got lutetium trials for palliation, because that's what Paul Hobson has been doing, but it's not approved here. The gallium scan has been going on for quite some time, and it's sensitized through prostate-specific membrane antigen, so it seeks out only prostate cells, which are either in the prostate, metastasized disease, and there are some cells around the thyroid or throat that also, I forget, there's another gland that has PSMA in it. So you have to be a bit careful. It can have a side effect there. But the bottom line is that, yes, the gallium is coming down the road. It's not there yet. The Axumin, which is the one we were just talking about, I think you asked about, Bill, it's spelled AXUMIN, is more advanced F-18. I think the active aspect is F-18, but there's more to it than the old F-18 scan, and I honestly can't remember. Can you, Len? Do you remember how the Axumin improves over the old F-18?
Well, yeah, it's more sensitive. They say you can use it when the PSA is even as low as 0.2, depending on who you talk to, 0.5.
Right.
And it's not only for detection of bone mets, but also soft tissue mets. And it is
Okay.
a fluorine isotope, Rick, but it's not F18. It's something called flucyclovine. Not being a chemist, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's identified here. I'm looking at it as flucyclovine F18.
And the big,
Okay.
the big advantage is because it's so stable, the institution doesn't need to have a cyclotron, which is, before that was why Mayo and the Phoenix Imaging Center were the only places that had the F-18
Colon.
had the cyclotron.
Oh, no.
This stuff can last.
I think the F-18 tag molecules can be produced nearby. The half-life isn't so short that you have to produce it on site. The choline,
it's the choline.
The label choline has to be produced on site and requires a cyclotron.
Right, the choline, Peter, that required the cyclotron.
Okay. But the oxamin does not need a cyclotron because its half-life is much longer and it doesn't have to be produced on site. So that's a big advantage of it.
Okay. So this technician told me that the gallium scans are close to approval by the FDA. That will probably happen within the next couple months. So it'll be interesting to see which one of these newer types of scans will become the standard. Anyway, thanks for
good. It's a great discussion. I just posted 2 links. One is more about the Axiomin scan from the Axiomin website. The other is one of Mike Scott's reviews on the Axiomin scan from earlier this year in February. He reviews a report. I'm not sure what he says. I remember reading it, but I'd have to look at it again. But Peter, we kind of bumped you. I'm sorry to do your pitch on the low and.
It's okay. It's okay.
But we'll do it next time because I do think it's really important, and I don't want to jip you on that, but it got replaced by the this discussion on scans, which I think was quite.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
No,
it's not brought up the scans if I thought somebody else was.
No, it was
not your fault. Not your fault.
Not your fault. It was mine. I forgot to go to Peter. I missed him. I missed it, and then you came up with the scan topic. So it's totally not your fault. It's mine.
Okay.
Moderation, but as it turned out, it was good because that was a great discussion on scans that we just had. We don't talk about scanning often enough, and it's complicated. So it's 7:05. We have to quit. Thanks everybody. I will try and get this posted tonight, and the next call will be, well, like I mentioned, we do have the caregivers call tomorrow night, and then next week at 3 o'clock Pacific and 6 o'clock Eastern, we'll have another one of these calls. Just one thing I want to, I mean, I know I've asked many of you before, but I just keep reminding you, I'm real anxious to get some other calls set up for other diseases. And when I was in England, I think we've nailed 2 people, one to start a call on kidney cancer, one to start a call on breast cancer in the in the English time zone. And hopefully we're going to do a prostate cancer call with PCUK, Prostate Cancer UK. But I'm just having difficulty locating people that would moderate calls for other diseases here. So if you happen to know any activists, people that might be interested in moderating a call for any disease, please let me know, especially, even though it isn't cancer, Parkinson's and MS, where mobility is impaired and people just cannot get to meetings. So keep us in mind. If you can, if you meet somebody, I always have the time to tell them what we're doing.
Rick, it might be useful if we run into somebody who we think is a good candidate for that, to invite them on to this call or the low and intermediate call, just to give them an idea how we work. Because just to describe it as moderating a phone call, it sounds like it's from outer space or something to people.
Right. It would be Peter, it'd be a great idea, and I've thought of it, but we don't have the candidates. I've got to get the candidates first. I don't even need them to come to school. They can listen. They can listen to. They can listen to the calls on the web.
Right.
Okay, Rick, I'll poke around at the medical school here in Buffalo and see if I can find someone that would be suitable for, especially for Parkinson's, or I mean specifically for Parkinson's or neurological neurodegenerative disorders.
As you know, I'm looking for ovarian, breast, colon. I'm looking for somebody to do something with BRCA. You know, really anything, but outside of cancer, I do think of these mobility diseases.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
The only thing is that they have to be peers. They cannot be medical professionals giving advice. They can be medical professionals if they're peers, like Steve. That's fine, but they can't.
Okay.
They can't be a licensed medical professional coming on here to moderate a call.
Okay.
The scientists, fine, but we just have to be careful because of HIPAA.
Right. Okay. So I would be interested in learning what you may have learned on your visit to Blighty, as you call it, about prostate cancer treatment in the UK and how it might be different from the US. Is that something that you learned a lot about and could talk about on a call in the future? Or
yeah, we could. We could. I'd be happy to do that. I'm not an expert, but I've learned a little bit. So yeah, happy to do it.
Okay. I mean, I'm not sure that this is the appropriate forum for it, but
no, it's fine.
But okay.
But if we have time, it's definitely something I would talk about. But I'm also happy to talk to you about it offline. Start making notes for when I see you. It's only a month away now.
Yes, I know.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Okay, guys. Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.